The 2003 municipal election in Toronto was a historic one for several reasons. It was the first time that the city used a ranked ballot system, which allows voters to rank their preferences for mayor instead of choosing only one candidate. It was also the first time that the city elected a mayor who was not endorsed by any of the major political parties. And it was the first time that the city saw a major shift in its political landscape, as a progressive candidate defeated a conservative one by a narrow margin. A ranked ballot system works like this. Voters can rank as many candidates as they want on their ballot, from their first choice to their last choice. If no candidate gets more than 50% of the first choice votes, then the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and their votes are redistributed to the next ranked candidates on those ballots. This process continues until one candidate has more than 50% of the votes and is declared the winner. The ranked ballot system was introduced in Toronto as a way to increase voter turnout, reduce negative campaigning, and ensure that the mayor has broad support from the electorate. It was also seen as a way to give more voice to diverse candidates and communities, as voters could express their preferences without fear of wasting their vote or splitting the vote. The 2003 mayoral race had 5 main candidates: Barbara Hall, John Nunziata, John Tory, David Miller, and Tom Jacobek. Hall was the former mayor of pre-amalgamation Toronto and an independent who had support from many Liberals. Nunziata was a former Liberal MP who ran on a right-wing platform of law and order. Tory was a former CEO of Rogers Cable and a supporter of the Progressive Conservatives. Miller was a city councillor and a member of the New Democratic Party who campaigned on stopping the expansion of the Toronto Island Airport. Jacobek was the former budget chief who faced allegations of mismanagement and corruption. The campaign started with Hall leading in the polls, followed by Nunziata and Tory. Miller was in 4th place, but he gained momentum as he focused on grassroots organizing and environmental issues. Jacobek dropped out of the race before Election Day. On November 10, 2003, Toronto voters cast their ballots using the ranked ballot system for the first time. The initial results showed that Tory had 38% of the first choice votes, followed by Miller with 43%, Hall with 9%, Nunziata with 5%, and others with 5%. Since no candidate had more than 50%, the ranked ballot system kicked in and eliminated Nunziata and others. Their votes were redistributed to their next ranked candidates, which gave Miller a slight edge over Tory. The final results were Miller with 51%, Tory with 49%, Hall with 0%, Nunziata with 0%, and others with 0%. Miller became the new mayor of Toronto by a margin of about 36,000 votes. The 2003 municipal election in Toronto introduced a ranked ballot system that changed the way voters chose their mayor. It also changed the color of Toronto's mayor, as Miller became the first progressive mayor in decades. The election showed that ranked ballots can create more competitive and diverse races, and that voters can rank their preferences without compromising their values. In this section, I will explain how the ranked ballot system affects the chances of candidates from different ethnic backgrounds and political affiliations to win the mayoral race in Toronto. The ranked ballot system is a way of voting that allows voters to rank their preferences for candidates instead of choosing only one. The candidate who receives more than 50% of the first choice votes wins the election. If no candidate reaches this threshold, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and their votes are redistributed to the second choices of their supporters. This process continues until one candidate has a majority of the votes. The ranked ballot system has several advantages over the current first-past-the-post system, which awards the victory to the candidate with the most votes, regardless of whether they have a majority or not. Some of these advantages are: it reduces vote splitting and strategic voting. In a first-past-the-post system, voters may feel compelled to vote for a candidate they do not like in order to prevent another candidate they dislike more from winning. This can result in vote splitting among similar candidates and give an advantage to candidates who have a loyal base of support but do not appeal to a broader range of voters. In a ranked ballot system, voters can express their true preferences without fear of wasting their vote or helping their least favorite candidate win. It encourages more civility and cooperation among candidates. In a first-past-the-post system, candidates may have an incentive to attack and discredit their opponents in order to gain votes. This can create a negative and divisive campaign atmosphere that alienates voters and discourages participation. In a ranked ballot system, candidates may have an incentive to appeal to the supporters of other candidates and seek common ground in order to gain second or third choices. This can create a more positive and constructive campaign atmosphere that engages voters and fosters collaboration. It increases diversity and representation on city council. In a first-past-the-post system, candidates who belong to marginalized groups or have unconventional views may face barriers to getting elected due to lack of resources, media attention, or voter support. This can result in a city council that does not reflect the diversity and interests of the city's population. In a ranked ballot system, candidates who belong to marginalized groups or have unconventional views may have a better chance of getting elected by attracting second or third choices from voters who share their values or concerns. This can result in a city council that is more diverse and representative of the city's population. The ranked ballot system has been proposed as a way to improve Toronto's municipal elections and make them more fair and democratic. However, the provincial government has recently introduced legislation that would ban ranked ballots across Ontario, despite the fact that some cities, such as London, have already adopted them and others, such as Toronto, have expressed interest in doing so. The provincial government has argued that ranked ballots are too complicated and costly for voters and municipalities, and that they would create confusion and inconsistency in the electoral system. However, many advocates for electoral reform have criticized this decision as undemocratic and unjustified. They have argued that ranked ballots are simple and easy for voters to understand and use, as evidenced by their widespread use in other countries and contexts, such as political party leadership elections. They have also argued that ranked ballots are not significantly more expensive or difficult for municipalities to implement than first-past-the-post ballots, as evidenced by the successful experience of London in 2018. They have also argued that ranked ballots would not create confusion or inconsistency in the electoral system, but rather enhance its legitimacy and responsiveness by ensuring that elected officials have broad support from the electorate. Therefore, the question of whether Toronto will adopt ranked ballots for its next mayoral election depends on whether the provincial government will reverse its decision to ban them, or whether it will face legal challenges or public pressure from those who support them. If ranked ballots are allowed, they could have a significant impact on the outcome of the mayoral race by changing the dynamics of the campaign and the preferences of the voters. They could also have a significant impact on the composition of city council by increasing the chances of candidates from different ethnic backgrounds and political affiliations to win seats. The current mayor of Toronto, John Tory, faces a strong challenge from his main rival, Jennifer Keesmaat, who is endorsed by several progressive and diverse groups. Keesmaat is a former chief city planner of Toronto who resigned from her position in 2017 and became a professor at the University of Toronto. She is also the founder of Marquee Developments, a company that focuses on creating affordable housing projects. She ran for mayor in 2018 but lost to Tory by a wide margin. Keesmaat has criticized Tory for his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, the housing crisis, the transit system, and the climate emergency. She has proposed a bold vision for Toronto that includes building 100,000 affordable homes in 10 years, implementing a Green New Deal that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030, expanding public transit and bike lanes, and creating a more inclusive and equitable city. She has also pledged to defund the police by 10% and reinvest the money in community services. Keesmaat has received endorsements from prominent figures such as former Mayor David Miller, author Naomi Klein, rapper Cardinal Offishall, and activist Desmond Cole. She has also gained support from various organizations such as Black Lives Matter Toronto, Toronto Environmental Alliance, TTC Riders, and Acorn Toronto. She has raised more than $2 million in campaign donations, surpassing Tory's fundraising. Tory, on the other hand, has defended his record as mayor and argued that he has delivered on his promises of keeping taxes low, improving transit, creating jobs, and supporting vulnerable communities. He has touted his achievements such as launching the King Street pilot project, opening new subway stations, increasing funding for shelters and housing, and leading the city's response to the pandemic. He has also announced new initiatives such as expanding broadband access, creating more childcare spaces, and investing in arts and culture. Tory has received endorsements from former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, former Premier Kathleen Wynne, former Governor General David Johnston, and singer Shania Twain. He has also secured support from various groups such as the Toronto Region Board of Trade, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, the Toronto Police Association, and the United Way Greater Toronto. He has raised more than $1.5 million in campaign donations. The race between Tory and Keesmaat is expected to be tight and unpredictable. According to a recent poll by Forum Research, Tory leads Keesmaat by only 4 points among decided voters, 44% to 40%, with 16% undecided. The margin of error is plus or minus 3 percentage points. The poll also shows that Keesmaat has an advantage among younger voters, 18 to 34, renters, low-income earners, $20,000 to $40,000, and downtown residents. Tory has an edge among older voters, 65 plus, homeowners, high-income earners, $80,000 plus, and suburban residents. The by-election will take place on June 26 after Tory resigned due to health reasons. The winner will serve as mayor until the next regular municipal election in October 2023.